Hit. Okay, I'm going to introduce you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Marathon Lead Gen and Conversion, with your MAPS coach, Richard Schulman. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's fasttrack@kw.com. All right, that's all for me, Rich. Go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Jasmine. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us here at MAPS this morning. It's my great honor to present this class to you. I've been teaching for a few years now for MAPS, and I really enjoy giving back to a company that's given me so much. So what we're going to do over the next half hour is I'm going to give you actual content. This is a promotional call for a class that starts tomorrow, but I'm going to give you some good information about what myself and my team are doing right now to generate business. So let's jump right in. We normally take questions on the right side question panel. Depending on time this morning, we'll be able to do that as well. So if you have a question, pop it in there. If not, we'll be able to get to you after the call. So we're going to cover the Marathon Lead Gen stuff. A lot of the focus of today and of the class, and it's a revised focus because this is a revised market, is we are going to be talking about a shifting market. So I'll go over that more in a minute, but what you should understand is that shifting market means a lot of different things. Number one, shifting market means that buyers and sellers are looking for skills-based agents. So if you're not a skills-based agent, you will be replaced. About a third of the agents left the business in the 2007-8 9 market cycle, right? So that's a big switch. What the end result of that was that the highest ever units per agent was recorded in 2010, I believe. So agents made the most sales per agent at the bottom of the market, which is sort of opposite what you might think. So for agents who do well, a shifting market is an opportunity to do better in their own businesses. So we're going to talk a lot about scripting, and we'll get into also scripting for how we script in a changing market. Here's a little bit of background on me. I've been at Keller Williams now just past 12 years. I've capped all 12 years, although they stopped giving out free hats about 8 years ago. So I've got some very old hats at home. I love training and coaching. I will be in Austin 3 times this year. Mega Camp, I'm going in October and I'm going in November. I was there in May also 4 times. Family Reunion, I've been 8 straight times. I take any of the big regional classes that we have here, and I've also flown around the country to shadow other agents. So I believe firmly in training, and training is the reason why I'm here with you today. When I joined Keller Williams, I was a $4 million a year agent. When I went to my first family reunion, I had done 30 deals, and within a couple years, we were doing over 150 deals a year. And that's all from training and coaching. Here's a little bit about me. Don't get worried about too much of the detail, but I want to make a point here for you. So all these things I'm involved in, first of all, I owe to Keller Williams because of the idea of living a life by design from Bold, the idea of generating multiple streams of income from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent and other materials from the company. These are the things I'm involved in. And what I want you guys to understand, the big point of this here is that all of those activities start with lead generation and conversion, right? So don't think whenever you see someone who's successful, don't think, well, they got lucky, they got this or that. You make your own luck, and you make your own luck by generating and converting leads at a high level. So all of those things, every single one of them is solely dependent on generating and converting leads, not just in my core real estate business, but in the other businesses that they're related to. And even in my core real estate business, I have to generate and convert leads for buyers and sellers, as well as for staff people, as well as for junior agents for my team. To find rental properties, I need to prospect people who sell rental properties. If you want to invest in a market center and become an OP, you probably will not get a phone call. You probably have to be making those phone calls. If you want any other business is related to, based on lead generation and conversion. So I want to make the point that it's the absolute core of whatever you do, whether it's in real estate, something related to real estate, or a different business entirely. The other big point, the opposite of that, is that the minute you stop generating and converting leads, your business will start to wither. You may not see it right away, but it will happen. So one of the things we see is that when agents reach a new peak of production, whether you're a new agent and you've just sold a few homes, or whether you're, let's say, a mid-level producer agent and you're just sort of moving into a high-level producer agent role, and don't worry about the different guidelines of what that means. But what we see is when people start producing at a higher level, they get busy, and I'm using air quotes here, they get very busy with what they're doing, and they forget to do what got them there. What got them there was generating and converting leads. So the number one thing my new agents struggle with is they get one escrow in and they stop making phone calls for the week because nothing else matters. That paycheck's coming, that exciting first escrow, and they will stop lead generating. And then when that escrow closes or cancels, as it were, then they have nothing else in the pipeline, right? If you get 5 escrows at a time or 7, or you get a lot of stuff going on, if you stop generating and converting leads, you are going to have a slowdown in business. It may not be tomorrow. It won't be tomorrow, but it may be in a month or 2 months or even a year. Right? My pipeline 15 years in is all based on leads I've converted over the last 15 years. Many of my transactions are on 10-year-old leads I've been working the whole time. So here's our challenge. We're going to give you a lot of homework during the class. You may or may not like that, but I promise you it'll work. I want you to track your phone calls. So this class started from an idea maybe 10 years ago that I had that people were very inefficient in making phone calls. And since then, we've had a lot of increases in auto dialer technology. So if you're not using an automated dialer, I prefer a single line, by the way. If you're not using an automated dialer, then you're probably hurting yourself. But what you should be doing is you should be using at least tracking your numbers, and you should be looking to see how many calls you're making per hour. I believe that if you're focused and you have your numbers ready and you're ready to go, and we'll talk about that in the first call tomorrow, that you should be making every time 25 calls per hour, every hour you're prospecting. And if you're doing less than that, you're really cheating yourself. I also think you should be making 1.5 appointments per hour every hour. Now, I want you to understand very clearly that if you're coming to work and you're not making those calls per hour, and yes, there's always an exception, there's always, well, something came up, but something doesn't come up every day. Something comes up once a week, twice a month, 3 times a month. I believe that 20 out of 22 working days a month, you should be able to sit down, make phone calls for 2 to 4 hours per day at a high level. And the number of hours per day depends on who you're calling and your level of experience. We'll go over very real details about this within the class. So here's a quick example for us. We lost in one way or another about half of our sales team in December of 2017, and we spent the first 2 months of the year only training on this material, only training on the introductory phone call and the appointment setting scripting. Our January and February were okay. In March, we had our best month ever. In April, we had our best month ever. And the next 4 months after that, we had all over $10 or $12 million a month. August was our worst month of the year since then at $10 million in closings. And September will be above that. So what we've been doing is only focusing on, primarily with newer agents, is focusing on the introductory phone call and the appointment setting script. And so to be very clear, what we do in this class is I'm going to teach you over 5 hours how to pick up the phone call to someone to make an appointment. It sounds very simple. It is very simple. If you are perfect at it, and I believe that you can be perfect at it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary, right? If you are perfect at meeting people, putting them into a database, and setting an appointment with them, that is the whole business. If you can get to sit down with someone, you can get them to sign a contract with you, you can sell them a house. Now, we can improve how you do those things too, but just getting to the appointment is the key metric in our industry. So what the class is going to do, first of all, is show you how to do about 5,000 more calls a year. Now, it depends where you're starting from and, again, who you're calling and how often you're calling. But all I want to do really is have you make 10 more calls twice a day, 5 times a week, 50 weeks a year. You get 2 weeks of vacation. And that comes up to 5,000 more calls a year. So the question is, if I can show you a way to make 5,000 more calls a year, will that help your business? All right, so we're not done yet, don't worry, but if you're really excited, the call starts tomorrow. You can sign up at marathonconversion.com. Maps will also send you a link. I'll go over the call in detail at the end, but let's do a little bit of some more material first. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to get really excited about making phone calls. I'm standing up right now. I'm excited to be on this call. I hope you feel that energy through the phone. I just saw my sales team script practicing in our room here, and someone was sitting down and had low energy, so we corrected that, right? Stand, walk, pace, get excited. People feel your energy over the phone. Next thing, and we're moving quickly, so stay with me. Do you have goals for each call? Why not? Now, we're going to cover this in call 5 for about half the call is goal setting. Now, it's end of the year now, believe it or not, so you should be business planning for 2019 probably in the next few weeks. Now, what I want you to do and what we'll talk about in the call is I want you to have a goal in mind. Now, the goal can be anything. It can be that you want to save a certain amount of money, that you want to buy a home, that you want to buy a car, vacation, college, whatever it is. What I need you to do is I need you to have a very big goal, and I need you to break that goal down into individual weekly goals. Now, we'll talk all about this. Hopefully, your office is offering business planning within the next month, but this is a business planning. And what I find is that we all have call reluctance. And what call reluctance is the idea that we are afraid to make calls or uncomfortable making calls or unwilling to make calls for some reason. We may not admit it to ourselves, but we all have it. I have it too. And what we need to do every day is think about our big goal and how we're going to get there. And your big goal, let's say you want to buy a house, your big goal can be converted into a certain number of dials and appointments today. If that's too abstract for you, I started playing around with this in about 2007-8, is assigning an arbitrary dollar value to the call. Now, there's a lot of ways to calculate it, and I think if you actually do the math on $100,000 of income, you probably come up with between $20 and $40 per dial as the absolute value, right? But I decided, for no apparent reason other than that I think this makes sense to me, is that each call is worth $100 to me. So I believe that every time I pick up the phone, it's worth $100 to me. And you should probably feel the same way, that if you're making good, productive, purposeful calls that will lead to an appointment, that will lead to a sale, you should be able to make somewhere between $20 and $100 per dial. And if 100's not good enough, you can make it worth more, but then you've got to make better calls and more calls to the right people, right? So every call is worth $100 to me. Assign a number to yourself. Start with $25, right? That makes an hour of calling worth $625 to you. Does that make you more or less motivated to make a phone call now, right? So we're going to play around with motivation and how to get ourselves to make phone calls day in, day out. All right, what's the point of a phone call? Why are we picking up the phone? This is a huge point that a lot of us miss. If you can write this down, write this down. We will be taking notes during the class. The point of a phone call is only to set an appointment. You may all be nodding and saying, well, duh, I don't need to log into a webinar to learn that. I guarantee you that if I listen to your calls, the vast majority of you would be doing your appointments on the phone, right? As soon as you call a prospect and they start asking what we generally call buying questions, how's the market, what's going on, immediately it is time to convert for an appointment. When I listen to agents making their calls, I hear them having that appointment over the phone, right? If we're an over-the-phone business, we can be outsourced and replaced by computers or call centers. I like my job. I don't want that to happen. I run a face-to-face business. I'm looking to meet with people face-to-face. I believe today I have 3 face-to-face appointments. I would call that an average or a low day for me. All right, so let's get into the scripting. Write this down. Now, we're going to cover everything from here on out for this call. This will be covered over a couple of different calls within the class. So what I want you to do is I want you to get real granular on scripting. And when we talk about shifting market means that the business is moving and it's becoming more and more appointment-based, right? Face-to-face meetings are become more valuable, right? As there's more options for me to buy a home online or to buy a home without using an agent, a face-to-face meeting becomes more valuable. So as soon as someone starts asking those buying questions, you're going to use a directive tone, right? First, speak to the lender and get pre-approved, and then I'll meet with you, and then we can tour homes. I am telling the buyer what's going to happen. Now, the genesis of this idea came from a long time ago, where the idea was that we should think of ourselves on the same professional par as doctors and lawyers and accountants. And your doctor and lawyer and accountant tells you what to do. You don't tell them what to do. You don't tell your doctor when it's convenient for you to meet. You don't tell your doctor what the course of action is going to be. Your doctor tells you when you're going to meet, and it's not going to be soon, and you're happy to get an appointment next week, and your doctor's going to tell you what the proposal for an action is, right? Think of yourself like that. Now, we're not saving lives, of course, but we are doing something dramatically financially important for our people, right? For the vast majority of our clients, buying a home is a life-changing experience financially. Here's another script, right? Like I said, we're going to spend about an hour on this type of scripting, but I want you to understand we are the doctor, we are the lawyer, we are the accountant. We are going to be setting the tone. We are in charge. The best thing for me to do is to come to your home and give you a personalized evaluation. Is Tuesday or Wednesday better? Now, that's a seller script. You could use the same script for a buyer. But when a seller starts asking you selling questions, immediately we're closing for the appointment. Now, we're going to qualify after we close for the appointment, and that's another half a class too, so don't worry about that. But the goal is to make appointments. I would rather you go on bad appointments than not go on appointments, right? When we break down your schedule in the first and second calls, we're going to figure out you guys have time to easily go on 3 or 4 appointments per day. That's somewhere between 15 and 20 per week, right? You have a lot of time to go on appointments. Your job is to go on face-to-face appointments. We're going to help you get there. Gary Keller, by the way, says you need to go on 11 appointments a week. So I would challenge you at first get to 11 and then to work towards 15 to 20. Here's another one, same idea. So we'll take a look at that house and I can show you a couple more right after what time is best, right? So we're just taking control. We're telling them what's going to happen. We're changing the focus of the question. The key element here, the focus of the question is not do you want to meet with me? It's when are we going to meet? And I'm not asking them when we're going to meet. I'm telling them when we're going to meet. Right? The point of telling them when we're going to meet is to take away from their automatic response system, right? The little thing inside you that automatically says, no, I don't want to meet with you, stranger. And we're telling them we're going to meet. We're just asking them what time. All right, so let's talk about market shifting scripts. So I would ask you who's having a market shift. I'm pretty sure everyone is. Is anyone not experiencing market shift? I'd be curious to see. I think the agents who are not experiencing the market shift are not paying close enough attention. What we're seeing in our market here is some of our segments are in shift. That is, things are slowing more slowly and for less money. And some of them are what I would call pre-shift, which I think people need to pay attention to. That would be something along the lines of longer market times or more inventory. So you may not see price shifts yet, but as soon as you start seeing inventory double and triple, which is what we're seeing here in a lot of parts of LA, that's a sign that soon things will change. Things are already changing, but soon things will change more dramatically and more noticeably. Now there's a lot of different things to talk about with market shift. The key that I want to focus you guys on today is the opportunity script, right? So, and we'll do I'm rewriting one of the calls to include this, so we're going to have about 30 to 45 minutes on this because I think it's crucial. In the Marathon Lead Generation Facebook page, which you'll be invited to join as soon as you sign up for the class, I have an additional 40-minute webinar that goes into this that we're going to do in more direct fashion on the webinar. It's a recorded conference call, I'm sorry. But we have about a 35-minute conference call on how to shift for a scripting market. Now, let's talk about buyers. I think buyers in a shifting market are the most interesting one. If a seller has to sell, they're going to sell. And the shifting scripts are important, but not as crucial. A lot of buyers are going to want to tell you they want to wait out the market. They're going to tell you they want to wait for a deal. They're waiting for something. So we have to get really granular with them. So the first thing I would tell you is that if a buyer calls you and says, or you call a buyer and they say, I'm looking for a deal, I would immediately ask them to define that for you, right? What you have to understand, home buying is an emotional experience on top of a financial one. And in a shifting market, it's far, far, far more emotional than it was before. In 2015, when everything's going north, everyone's happy. Maybe they're wishing they bought something 2 years sooner, but they're all happy to buy. In 18, 19, and 20, when the market's changing, people are going to have changing attitudes about that. And it's going to bring more emotion to them. It's going to make this more difficult. So when I say skills-based agents will seize the day, it's because skills-based agents know how to handle a buyer who is dealing with more emotion than before in regards to a financial transaction, right? I assume any of you can handle a motivated buyer in an upward charging market. Let's see if we can do the reverse. So here we go. So if a buyer says, I'm looking for a deal, I'm looking for a value, I'm waiting for the market to change, the first thing I want to do is go back to them and say, what does that mean to you? Or what percentage are you looking for? Or how does that look to you? Right? There's a lot of different ways to ask that question. What I want to know is, what does that specifically mean? You're looking for prices to drop, how much, right? The answer to that question will dictate how I respond to you. If you say I'm waiting for prices to drop 30%, I say great, I'll call you when they do, and I move on to the next call because that's someone who's not going to buy a home today. If you say I'm looking for a 10% drop, I say, and this is a script we're using here, we've seen many properties in our market, including some of our own listings, sell for 10% more or 10% or less than they should have sold for because of a shifting market. And then I go into this line, which I think is the best line that you could be using, and there's actually a typo in there, sorry about that. If I could show you opportunity in today's market, would you be able to meet tomorrow or Friday, right? So when you're dealing with an emotional thing, you don't want to convert that to a financial thing, right? So try to stay away from, I'm going to get you a great deal, right? We never use the word deal. We use the word value. It's a different word. What I want to tell people is there's opportunity, right? Opportunity is what everyone's looking for. If I called any of you and said I have the opportunity to buy a property, you would all listen to my call, right? I believe, and I personally just recently purchased a property, I believe there's opportunity in today's market. I believe there's sellers out there who are motivated. I believe there's sellers out there who will sell you their home for less than what they would have gotten 6 months ago because they are motivated to move on, and your buyers have the opportunity to take advantage of that. And when you use words like that, take advantage of opportunity, you get a lot of emotional engagement from your clients, right? So the key thing there is we want to talk about opportunity. Now, not everyone will want to buy a home today, and not everyone will want to buy a home tomorrow. Some people will buy a home in 6 months, and they will ask you, why don't I just wait? And I will remind them of what happened in 2007 and 2008. In our market here, and you need to have good market stats for your area, in our market here, we saw the majority of the price drop happen within the first 6 to 8 months, right? From mid-2007 to early 2008, about 90% of the ultimate price drop occurred, right? That's a 6 or 9 month window that happened. By April 2008, people were buying homes with multiple offers and paying all cash. Can you compete with an all cash offer? And then quiet and let them answer, right? I don't know what's going to happen in this market cycle. I don't know if today is the best day to buy or tomorrow or a year from now, but I can tell you, looking historically, the majority of the price drop happened. And feel free to write this down, and this is in the conference call I have for you as well, and it'll be in the scripting. The majority of the price drop happened in a few months, and then the market was taken over by all cash buyers. Can you compete with that, right? It's a reasonable question. It's not a scare tactic. It's a reasonable question. If you tried to buy a home in Los Angeles in June 2008 at the bottom of the market or near the bottom of the market, you were going to have trouble because a lot of people were paying cash for homes. And if you were not going to buy the best deals. Now, 2 other things I want to mention about shifting market. Number 1, and this is sort of a side topic from what we do, but just really important, if you're showing buyers homes, you need to take charge of that situation and pick the homes for the buyers to see. Your buyers will still only pick the best deal of the week, and the best deal of the week is still going to get multiple offers, right? Most of my listings are taking much, much longer to sell, and some of them are still selling the first day with lots of offers, right? Don't let your buyers pick the homes. You find the deal homes for them. You find the value homes for them so they have opportunity to take advantage of the situation, right? And the last script I want to go over with you, and write this down, it'll all be in the call, is the question that you're going to get is, how does this compare to last time? Or something related to, last time was terrible, how is this time going to be? Now, I don't believe this time will be as bad of a housing recession for a lot of reasons, and I'll walk you through them. In the last market cycle, we had 3 big factors. We had a global recession. We had a banking crisis, meaning there was lots of subprime loans that were put out there in the market that went bad, and we had a natural housing recession, right? Now, in this market cycle, we don't have a recession. In fact, our economy is doing pretty well overall. Not spectacular. It's a longer conversation, depending on how sharp your clients are, but unemployment is very low. Inflation is low, and wages are still low too, but overall pretty good, much better than 2008. We don't have any subprime loans. I don't know about you guys, but most of my clients are 20% down. We're doing 1 FHA loan every few months. In 2005, it was all FHA loans. So I'm seeing mostly pretty solid loans with relatively strict qualifying. And yes, we are having a market cycle, right? We are having a natural market cycle. So there's three things there. We have one of them and sort of the least toxic of those three. So those are all scripts that you can be using. The key is the opportunity script, and we'll go over this in the Marathon Lead Gen class, of course. All right, so we'll do one more exercise. So you're probably thinking, why should I ask you, Richard, about generating leads? And if you were at Mega Camp, that's me on the far left, the very handsome one. That's me, and hopefully you recognize Gary Keller on the right, and Mark and Anna in between us. And Gary was asking me at Mega Camp about how do you generate leads, right? So the last thing I'll leave you with is the text message conversation. So a bunch of you probably saw it. If not, what I'm going to ask you to do to really make your life easier is start every day by text messaging 3 people. And I'm going to ask you to take your cell phones out now and text message 3 people for an appointment. At Mega Camp, we asked a room of about 8,000 people to text message 7 people each for an appointment. And here's the script. Hey, Richard, you want to grab coffee tomorrow? That's the whole script, right? That's it. If you ask 7 people, our stats show about 4 of them will say yes and have an appointment with you. Coffee date is an appointment. It counts as an appointment. In my opinion, it's the best kind of appointment because in a shifting market, Gary and I believe that you should be building a moat around your database and really hunkering down and talk to your sphere of influence. Your closest 100, 200, 300 friends, family, people that know you in your market are the ones who will do more than enough business with you, are the ones who will refer you to new clients and make you all the money you'll ever need. My personal database, and I've done $25 million personally in sales. My team's over 90 for the year. My personal database is about 500 people. My lead generation is dropping my kids off at school and talking to the parents. I organize a dad's night out for the parents, and I go to coffee and lunch with them persistently and consistently. And I use this exact thing. Hey, do you want to have lunch tomorrow? Hey, do you want to have coffee tomorrow? You want to have coffee on Monday? That's the whole script. So try that out now. I guarantee you it will work. I guarantee you will set appointments. All right, so while you're doing the text message the text message exercise, let me tell you what you're going to get in the Marathon Lead Generation class. I very much appreciate that you would consider investing $149 in the class. I guarantee you will get multiples of that back by the first call and many multiples by the 5th call. All that you need to do is watch the class, engage in the Facebook group, and then take the exercises, right? The texting thing right now, if you guys did that, if you all texted your top 100 people over the next month and went to coffee with them, if you went to coffee with 75 of your top 100 people, you will make a lot of money. Now, it's not going to be tomorrow, but someone in that 75 is buying or selling a home today. Someone in that 75 is going to refer you to a home seller, and probably 5 or 6 people out of that group will buy a home in the next 12 months. It's your choice if you do it or not. It's your choice if you get that business or not. But we know from doing this for a long time that the most and best and easiest business comes from contacting your sphere of influence. All right, here's what we're going to cover. And if you guys make an appointment, put it into the screen so I know that it's working. How do you double or triple your outbound call volume? So we're going to first work on really clear, easy habits to build that will help you increase your volume, right? I've heard this meme before. Maybe you have too. It's something like, Beyonce and you have the same number of hours in the day. It's just a matter of how you use them. You've probably seen it with other celebrities too. We all have the same amount of people in our day. We all have the same amount of time in our day, and it's just a matter of how we use it, right? How we're going to double or triple our volume, how we're going to improve conversion rate, right? So that means converting to appointment, right? We're going to make 11 appointments a week or more every week forever, right? And it's not going to be hard because it's going to become a habit. So the habits will translate to a lot of facets of your business, but a lot of really good, simple efficiency and productivity and purposeful habits. We're going to really focus on stop wasting time with poor lead conversion, right? The guy who tells you he's waiting for a 30% discount is not a good lead. Move on. Congratulations, Steve. Pate, I think that is. I have a small window on the right. Steve made the first appointment for Tuesday, so good work, Steve. Just be sure to send me 25% of the commission on that deal. How do we stop wasting leads with inadequate follow-up? The big crime I see agents doing an open house on Sunday and then not really doing anything with those leads. So how do we stop wasting leads with poor follow-up? On the second call, I'm going to give you a written plan that you can copy and use at home that will show you how to follow up day by day with any lead that you get. Everything that I'm giving to you is the same thing that my team is using. My team is required to take the class and learn the class every time over as well. We're going to do 175 transactions for $140 million this year. We're at a high price point, so some of you may not be used to those kind of numbers. But everything that I'm giving to you is what we do here. All right, here's the class. The class is tomorrow. It's 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, noon Eastern. It's 5 webinars. All the webinars are recorded, so if you can't make a couple of the classes or any of them, it's no problem. You get the recording. I would also encourage you to listen to them at least one additional time. With the calls, I know some of you had this question, you will be getting a written PDF every call that will have a lot of this stuff printed out for you, but I would encourage you to be aggressive note takers. The first call is going to be on sort of productivity habits. Second call will be on systems of follow-up. How do we follow up with someone and when? Third call will be on buyer conversion. Fourth call on seller conversion. And the fifth call will be on using auto dialers and business planning and purpose. So I really look forward to having you guys on the call. We start tomorrow. You can log on and sign up at marathonconversion.com. Maps will also send you a link today with the information. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you on the call starting tomorrow. Thanks, guys.